Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. Today I want to talk about a film that's been on my mind all year long, and that will be Everything Everywhere All at Once. I saw it when it was released initially in cinema. I saw the extended cut when it was released back into cinema with a truly amusing director intro thanking the fans for returning to see the film yet again in the cinema. Honestly, thank you, Daniels, for this incredible film going experience. And just the other night, I watched it for a third time to introduce this film to a dear friend of mine. So I think by now I owe it to myself to give my thoughts on this mesmerizing piece of cinema. The directors are a duo known as the Daniels. Their first film, Swiss Army Man, cemented their reputation as one of the weirdest modern filmmakers on the horizon. Honestly, I'm not sure I like this film, but I'm sure glad it exists. It's an absolute paradox, and I commend anyone who has the mind to create such an outlandish film-going experience. It's been roughly 6 years since that project, and I wondered, and perhaps even worried, what kind of film could possibly follow such an insane film idea. The answer is an even more extravagant, ambitious, and mind-bending cinematic experience. There's plenty of crazy to be found here, only this time their skills and creativity have become much more refined since their last project. I think the first thing worth bringing up is that this is one of the most visually creative films I've seen all year long, or even from previous years. What makes this all the more astounding is the shoestring budget it was made on, specifically $25 million. For average Joes like us, it may seem like an astronomical sum, but when it comes to the production of a film, especially an action film, it's peanuts. Take for example Bullet Train earlier this year, roughly $90 million. Or Nope, just shy of $70 million. Or another visual feast from earlier this year, The Northman, another $70 to $90 million. Of course, there are various factors that influence the price range, but I think you get my point. And I'm not even including the mega blockbusters such as Top Gun Maverick or the Avatar sequel later this year. What's even more impressive is that a team of 5 VFX artists is responsible for making most of the blockbuster-level visual wonders. There's an excellent video on this subject that I'll link in the description below. I highly recommend you go check it out. On top of the VFX, Everything Ever All at Once has some of the coolest editing tricks I've seen in films in quite a while. Every frame of this film explodes with personality and builds into a kaleidoscopic visual experience. It's wild and filled with eye-popping surprises. Additionally, one of my biggest surprises with this film is how outrageously funny it is. You will be laughing the whole way through Everything Everywhere All at Once at both the subtle quips and the insane action sequences. Some of these scenes in particular will just leave you in stitches. On my first viewing at the cinema, the whole butt-plug thing had me laughing for so long and so hard that I could hardly breathe. Oh my god, I haven't laughed like that in a long time. I'm also impressed with the choreography and the fight scenes. Remember, this is a low-budget film. Already wonders are made to the practical effects and the VFX, and now add on top the kick-ass martial arts scenes. Honestly, one of the best martial arts filmmaking attempts in years. I love the use of the environments and the patience of the actors to master complex choreographies for long takes. It reminds me of the classic martial arts film that are nearly extinct nowadays. So in many ways, this film feels like a love letter to that era. There's also some of the most creative repurposing of mundane objects used as weapons. Fanny pack kung fu? Oh my god. I'll link another video in the description that goes over how the fight scenes were shot. I do recommend you check it out, but perhaps first watch the film because there are quite a bit of spoilers. Now, all that being said, hidden beneath the action and all the visual spectacle lives a deep, thought-provoking family drama that is filled with pain, disappointment, and in the end, wisdom. It tackles complex familial relationships with your significant other, your parents, your offspring, and your influence on how they shape their life. And we catch glimpses of how the smallest life decisions could result in a radically different life. It's beautiful and at times heartbreaking. This emotional rollercoaster is made possible by an incredible cast. Let's start with Ke Huy Quan, who plays Waymond. I hope I pronounced his name right. Anyway, he's the father of this dysfunctional family. Fans may recognize him from his childhood fame in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. He's been on a very long hiatus from the film industry, about 20 years since his last feature, and almost 40 years since Indiana Jones and the Goonies. I can't think of a more glorious return for him. The purity, patience, honesty, and good nature of Waymond is infectious. He is an incredibly relatable character and has some of the most poignant, soul-crushing scenes in the entire film. There's an incredibly viral moment that I've seen people sharing online over and over again all year long. It's the purest profession of love I've seen in film all year and well beyond.
尽管离家让我心碎，我想告诉你，如果有来生， 我还是会选择和你一起报税、开洗衣店。
Wow, what a showstopper. This one's going in a time capsule. Next, we have Stephanie Hsu, who plays Joy, and she shows an incredibly wide range of emotions as a daughter battered and bruised by her rather oppressive mother. And let's not forget Jamie Lee Curtis, who plays Deidre, an IRS agent. Her character has an incredible power on screen, as well as some truly surprising depth hitting deep within the soul of her character. There are some genuinely beautiful and melancholic moments to uncover here, and I dare say this may be one of Jamie Lee Curtis's most iconic roles of her dense and successful career in film. But of course, the star of the show, Michelle Yeoh herself as Evelyn. She is simply marvelous in this film, a dream come true. She had many iconic roles in her past. Arguably, her most famous role was in the incredible Police Story 3, otherwise known as Super Cop. It's an absolute legend in the history of martial arts films and one of Jackie Chan's best projects when he was in his prime. The other film that I remember her most for is Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, where she has a sensational role. Now, I'm not familiar with all, if not most of her past works, but Everything Ever All at Once feels like the role of a lifetime for her. At the age of 59, she fights like she is still in her prime years. It's a marvel to behold, and she puts to shame most other action stars. But beyond the fighting, Evelyn's character arc is awe-inspiring, and I really don't want to go deeper into this for fear of spoiling any surprises. I think it's best to simply go and experience her growth for yourself. Now, all that worthy praise aside, I've heard a few people complain about the pacing in the film. There's a moment where people feel like the film could have ended and trails on for much longer than it should have. I understand how someone could feel that way, but I don't share that opinion. I think the reason why people feel this way is valid in a sense because the first chapter of the film, which constitutes roughly 2/3 of the entire film, feels like an ever-accelerating train going downhill with its brakes shot to hell. It builds into this relentless experience and that pace simply stops. It comes to a screeching halt, and the entire pacing and structure of the film flips on its head and transforms into a slow burn, soul searching character study. It's a ballsy move, one that defies traditional filmmaking structure. And for my part, I applaud it. I think the execution was phenomenal. And in these moments, we have that beloved quote I mentioned earlier. You're welcome to disagree, of course, but for my part, I think the last two chapters add immeasurable emotional depth to the film, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Even watching it a third time, I love Everything Ever All at Once. It's a great film to rewatch and show your family and friends because it's just so much fun, but also for catching all the intricate details that you would never pick up on first viewing. And believe me, there's quite a lot of clever details packed into the initial moments of the film, even in seemingly mundane props. I learned about this recently, but the Daniels were terrified when they were initially writing the script. They felt like they were late to the party with the whole multiverse idea. The admittedly outstanding Spider-Man, Into the Spider-Verse, and even Rick and Morty kinda took some wind from their sails. But the Daniels can rest easy because I feel like they have made the best metaverse film to date. They set the bar preposterously high and made an instant classic in my opinion. This truly feels like the kind of film that comes along once every 10 years. It's a tidal wave of creativity and passion that deserves the highest praise possible. As far as I'm concerned, I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. As always, this is just my opinion. You're welcome to disagree. And I hope you guys don't think I'm giving out 9s and 10s like candy on Halloween. There's no way in hell I have time to review every single film I see this year or the years before. I just want to stress the fact that I do not give this outstanding praise carelessly or without thorough consideration. I truly think this is an overwhelming and sensational film. And for that reason, it has been on my mind all year long. And I will leave it at that for today. I mentioned a couple of other films from earlier this year that I have not reviewed on this channel simply because I was not yet active on YouTube. I'd love to find time to go back and give my thoughts on them, but I think at this point, I'll just have to make my peace and move on. There's just too much that I have on my plate, even when solely focusing on this channel. And that's not including my game development career or life itself for that matter. Anyways, as always, wishing you and your loved ones well. Take care of yourselves and talk to you very soon. Bye now.